it here. This is the COIDA registration form that will be submitted to the Department of Labor. So there are 6 parts to this form. So can you
Hmm.
please take us through part number 1, which is the particulars of the employer?
Okay, no, that's perfect. So before I go to part number 1, remember any entity can register for COID. That is where you must tick with an X the type of entity that you're registering for COID for. That is very important just for your own information. So particulars for an employer, that's part number 1. That is very important. Who is the employer? That is the company name, the registration number, the address, the postal codes, and all that stuff. That is basically company information that is required there.
Great, thank you, Viv. And then I see part 2, it says here particulars of owner or close corporation or company or trust.
So that is basically particulars of the director or the member of a CC or the trustees in a trust, whichever way, according to the entity. So we need to know the directors of the company. They need to provide that details on the application form for that to be captured at the department.
Okay, great. And then part 3, it says the particulars of the nature of business. I think this is a section that a lot of businesses struggle with. So can you please explain this section to us, please?
Yes, this is very, very important, Kelly. So the Department of Labor has got a list of the industries that one will have to choose from. But what is more important with the nature of business, you need to explain a little bit further of what exactly you are doing so that the Department of Labor knows. For example, if you can just put construction company, what type of construction are you doing? You need to be specific, like, for example, engineering, civil engineering construction, or maybe mechanical engineering construction, or maybe demolition, so that they know what exactly you are doing in that construction company. So that's what the nature of business entails.
Okay, perfect. And am I correct in saying there will be things that are not applicable? In that case, you can just mark it as non-applicable on the form.
That's correct, Kelly.
Okay, great. And then part 4, Verb, it says particulars of responsible person, director, member, or partner of the business.
So basically, who is the main contact person in the company? So the details of the main contact person are the ones to be captured on part 4. Let's say the Department of Labor wants to get in contact with your company. Who is the person that they are going to be contacting? That is very important. Their name, their surname, ID number, and all the relevant detailed information required by them.
Okay, great. And then number 5, it does say NB, so I'm assuming this is an important section, particulars of the employees that must be completed.
So basically, this is where the employer puts the details of the employee. How many employees do they have? And how much are they giving the employees? So that is actually the total earnings of all the employees that they have from the 1st of March to the 28th of February. That's the 1st of March to the 28th, 29th of February, depending with the year. So that is actually the total amount. So when we are going to be talking about the estimated salaries for each and every employee, that is going to be covered in the return of earnings that we are going to cover at a later stage.
Okay, great. That makes sense, Viv. So part 6, the final section, this is additional information. Could you just explain what is required here as well?
So on the additional information required by the head office, this is very important for a company to have a legit business bank account. Remember, the COID used to do your submissions as an employer so that if anything happens to your employees, you get compensated on that. So how are they going to compensate you if you do not have legit company banking details, as they will not be able to compensate you in your personal bank account? So that is basically for validation purposes, and that is another requirement in order for them to approve your application.
Here we have our latest return of earnings form, which is the form required now to submit for April month. So this one has 3 sections, section A, B, and C. So the first section is for the employer's details. So what do we have to fill in here?
So basically, it's all about the employer. Who is the employer? Company name, registration number, URF registrations, tax numbers, business address. So that is basically the business information. Who is the owner and where are they located? All that basic information.
Okay, perfect. And then section B, which I think is probably the most important section, this is the declaration of earnings. So can you please explain this section to us?
Okay, perfect. So you can see, as I did mention earlier, if you can see at the top left, there's actual earnings, and then at the top right, there is provisional earnings. So the actual earnings is basically what has happened or is happening from the 1st of March 2023 to the 28th of February 2024. That is the actual. How many employees do you have? How much you are paying them from March to February, March last year to February this year. Then when it comes to the provisional, you estimate, okay, based on the previous year, how much am I going to be paying my employees in the coming year? And am I going to be having more employees? So if you feel like you're going to be having more employees, you can add the number. So we need the number and the salaries, the number of employees and the salaries. Then the total is going to be assessed by the Department of Labor. That is what the employer is going to pay.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation, Viv. And then the last section, section C, is the declaration.
Okay, so on the declaration, this is basically to say you as an employer, all the detailed information that you have put on the form above is correct. So you need to make sure that you sign for what you have put. And if they can find out that the information that you have provided on the form is not correct, you are going to be held liable for that. So it is important for you to put the correct information, as you are going to be held liable for your mistakes.
Okay, so with regards to us giving them so much personal details regarding our employees and also how much they earn, they don't ask you to verify this by means of payslip, but they do ask you to declare that any information you are completing is truthful and accurate. So they have this surety. So should they come and do an audit of your company or anything like that, and they see that in fact the information you give them is false, even though you have declared that it's true, that's where some issues may arise and you may get penalties for that.
That's correct. That's why we say they are going to be held liable
Yes.
of the information that they put on the forms. And most importantly as well, Kelly, just for them to know, if they are going to get a representative to do their declarations or their submissions on behalf of the company, they will need to provide the Department of Labor with the power of attorney. That is basically a form that is signed declaring that they are giving permission to this person to submit on their behalf.